welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at the South Park Center. I'm delighted to be joined with Selle with his fantastic movie, Daphne. Let's take a look at the clip.
I was in the middle of nowhere.
Ik werd wakker.
We hadden nog veel verzet in een klein.
Het enige herkenbare op dat moment was gewoon de muziek.
Firstly, thank you so much for being here. It's lovely to see your film come through us on the other side of the world, and coming from the Netherlands, so thank you.
Thank you very much for having us.
Well, thanks for bringing your film. For those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis.
So, Daphne is pretty much a short animated documentary about 3 storylines telling the story of 4 individuals during the pandemic, and how each sort of handles their issue during that time, especially like finding a sort of comfort in during the pandemic, and they all find this via music. So that's their common sort of common way of finding solace, I guess.
Yeah, I love that you chose music as a way that, you know, it brought people to kind of together, because I think everybody was trying to find their solace during that time in their own individual ways. And then, of course, in the style of animation, it was really nice to see it in that format. Where did the inspiration come for you in taking this documentary format, making it into animation, and then using music as part of that? When you decide to kind of do it and make it?
I guess the film was made during the pandemic, and let's say the COVID-19 pandemic, because there might be another one if somebody watches this in 15 years. I don't know. So it was made during the COVID-19 pandemic, and so a lot of things were changing, right? So especially like the way people were sort of experiencing music, I guess. So it went from this joint experience to this very solitary experience. It's like you weren't going to a concert, you weren't going to a festival. So this super big shift in how you experienced music was like one of the reasons why we thought, okay, we want to make an homage to music. The reason being because what the pandemic also did was sort of show how divided we sort of were around how to handle this whole thing, right? So people were anti-vaccines, pro-vaccines, and sort of fighting amongst each other. Yeah. Whilst if you would have had like a festival, or you have a festival now again, right? You're there with all kinds of people. You don't even know what they sort of vote for or whatever, you know? But you're there together and you sort of enjoy this moment together. So it's, you know? So that's what music can do, and it sort of lost that touch during the pandemic. And then in the film, we sort of try to tell this story about like how music, even though people are experiencing it solitary, how they are still sort of coming together in this feeling. So during the film, I guess we try to give the viewer the same feeling as the characters were having, or what they're describing at least. So yeah, that's why we chose music. And so, you know, bringing these stories together, obviously there was you know, these people's perspective from, you know, these 4 people's perspectives. How do you bring these stories together? These were real stories, right? Yeah. So it's a documentary. So you let me see how I'm gonna answer this question. So the question is how we sort of intertwine. Yeah. How did you find these subjects? How do we find these subjects? Okay. Yeah. So basically we started sort of looking for, okay, what are interesting stories on music and the pandemic. And we noticed like, okay, there's still sort of news articles and stuff. And we came across one of Simone de Ruig. That's a Dutch name, so it's a bit hard to to say it in English. Simone de Ruig. She's a nurse, and she told about this experience. She basically works in the intensive care part of the hospital, and she brings patients into this induced coma. That's her part, and like the induced coma part during the pandemic, it's a gnarly thing, because you're there conscious and you're gonna put to sleep. I mean, not to sleep, but
yeah.
You're gonna be put into this in how do you call it?
In a coma.
Yeah,
Induced. Induced, yeah.
Yeah,
Induced
you're
coma.
gonna be put in this induced coma, and you're basically you basically don't know if you're gonna wake up. So it's a pretty tough moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like she told in this article, and later to me, she told that there's a lot of people handling this moment in a different way. So some people might still want to do a FaceTime, because during the COVID thing or the pandemic, you couldn't have your family with you during this moment, right? So it's a really tough position. And she told about like this beautiful experience, in my opinion, of this man. I'm not sure from which country it is. He was, but or is. You're not sure if he's still alive. But he wanted to listen to this sort of song he listened to in his youth. And basically during the interview we did with Simone, or how we chose her, was okay. You can tell us how this moment was for this man and for you. You're sort of sharing this moment with this music, and you know it's a tough moment, I guess, for her and for the patient, of course, and also a beautiful one, because you know it's sort of okay. What's the last thing you want to do in your life, basically, if you don't wake up? Well, I want to listen to this song one more time.
Yeah, no, right? Definitely.
And basically we, so this is a story we found in a newspaper, and we basically asked, we brought in a researcher. And we gave her, I think, a month time to look for more of these kinds of stories. And it was basically most of the characters were sort of found via articles or via, like tête-à-tête. I'm not sure how you say it in English. I guess mouth to mouth.
Yeah.
Stories.
Yeah. And you know, what was the thought process behind the style of animation? It was a very distinctive style. I really loved it. It was very visually, you know, great to watch as well. How did you go about circling all those stories and then the style, and you created the animation? So you might have noticed that there's two directors on the film. It's me, Selle, Inti, Sellink, and there's Miriam Debets. Basically, we worked in this building. It's like a creative spaces building. I'm originally a sound designer, and Miriam is an animator. And we basically came together because we sort of found, I thought, okay, what are we going to do during this pandemic? All work kind of stopped, but my neighbors were 3 animators. I'm a sound designer, my best friend is a composer, and we sort of shared a studio. Combined together, yeah.
I mean, we can basically make a film, right? So we sort of came together, talked about what kind of things we could make with the 5 of us, and we sort of started making a plan. Now, in the end, we chose this plan, and we so the animation style. So I had to explain this prior to coming here. The animation style was actually it was planned differently than it is now. So the concept of the animation was that each character or each character line would have its own animation style. One would be 2D hand-drawn, one would be 2D digital, and one would be 3D. But we ran into this issue that 3D animation just takes a lot longer. So we chose to sort of incorporate those 3D parts into the animation and sort of start looking for, okay, we want to give each storyline one sort of element.
Yeah.
So nature, like the English voice you saw in the film, he has this glass, and which sort of stands for this lockdown feeling. And then there is Rogier and Joosje, and they have this sort of wall between them, which stands for like the coma, I guess, where the man was in, and the sort of disconnection between the two characters in the first storyline. And there was these sort of egg-shaped things, which stand for these basically like IC beds. I mean, it's not super obvious, I guess. We didn't want it to be super obvious as well, because, you know, if you're making a film about the pandemic, it sort of, to me at least, very quickly, it sort of feels like, okay, this film is about COVID, you know?
Yeah.
I was a bit allergic to that feeling, so I tried to be a bit more abstract.
Yeah, no, definitely, and you know, again, mixing the, you know, great style of animation. I love the symbolism behind that animation. That's really worked well. Of course, sound design and the score was great. Looking back on it, making this project and coming together, you know, all being together, making this, like, what did you want your audience to experience from your film?
Well, basically, like, this feeling you can get from music, and also what was a reason of why I wanted to make this film, is that music can really sort of lift you up and make this, you know, give you this feeling. And the idea of the film was that we would give the audience this feeling. So the concept was going to be like, okay, you have this build up in story and you have this build up in music, and there's going to be this moment where you feel it. And that's the moment where we wanted to have the animation come together, like all the 3D, 2D, and sort of mix up. And also be the moment where the music would sort of give you this sort of rush.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And I mean, I'm guessing you know which moment that is, right? It's this moment where nature, the English voice, tells you it was only the beat, and then it's silent for a second, and then everything sort of happens.
Yeah.
And hopefully, you know, people get this feeling. And what I've noticed is that for some people the film works in this way, and for some people it doesn't. And I guess you're gonna have the same thing with every film. Like for some people it's gonna work, and for some people it doesn't. But in the end, I'm happy that, you know, you are at a festival and this guy comes up to you and he's like, "Oh my God, I felt so," you know. And that's sort of, that's fun.
What's it been? I mean, obviously, what's it been like being, you know, coming here as part with, you know, Dutch Culture USA, NewFilmmakers Los Angeles, all the experience you had this last week? How has that been for you?
It's been quite a ride. Yeah, it's been quite a ride. I don't know.
You'll go home and take it all in, probably.
Yeah. I talked with Dylan about this as well. He was like, "Yeah, I'm here, and I just don't even realize I'm here. And then after I'm back, I'm like, oh whoa, you know."
It's a little surreal.
I guess I'm a bit more present than Dylan, maybe in that sense. But it's been a ride. Yeah. I talked with this man 2 days ago, and he told me, like, okay, people many times have this experience with LA. You sort of get there, you have your expectations, and then you start hating it more and more and more and more and more and more and more, and then you find some nice thing about LA, and then you sort of start liking it again, and then it starts going up again and up again and up again, and after you've been here for a few days or weeks or months or whatever, years, at that point you're like, oh, I love LA, or you cannot go back anymore. I'm not sure where I am in this way.
Well, you're only a week in, so
yeah,
I think LA is so spread out. It's got so much full of like rich, you know, culture and community. It's impossible to do everything in a week, but
I tried my best.
Yeah, dude, you've done well. I've heard you've done particularly well. So so well done. What is next for you?
Well, I'm working on a feature-length documentary.
Oh, excellent.
It's about my Peruvian roots and my search for it. And yeah, everyone who I sort of talk about it gets enthusiastic about it, and then I get enthusiastic again. And actually, this journey here in LA, I've talked about it with you know, people from Universal and people from, I don't even know where we talked with it again. But I mean, I know the faces, but I don't remember the abbreviations of the companies. Fourth Wall and ITE. Do you know?
I think
ATI. I don't know, the
not sure.
management company with Gabriela Gonzalez. Seeing them being enthusiastic about this sort of new plan I have, also again made me enthusiastic about, like, okay, put some power behind it and sort of start making again.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said in the beginning, I am a sound designer and I'm a director. This is the first one I directed, but and basically all my living I sort of make off of sound design, right? So whenever I have an idea to direct, sort of takes a while, because you know I have to sound design a feature film,
of
I have
course.
to do a few documentaries, and so it sort of makes these really big gaps in the sort of making process, I guess.
Well done for, you know, coming over here, making the trip, experiencing this, and hopefully you'll go back to the homeland and get to, you know, salvage the experiences and work on the next project. But thank you very much for being here, Selle. I really appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So everybody.